Freestyle Travel. Hey everybody, Flannery here. In this episode we have Robert Struggles on the show. This is a good one. So I met Robert in person for the first time 5 years ago. He had found me poking around online looking for travel stuff. We talk about it. And yeah, came across me and started messaging me and we were talking. So yeah, eventually I met him around Chicago 5 years ago, and now 5 years later, hanging out with him again. So put him on the podcast. Recently he went on some pretty big trips to Hawaii and Europe and all this stuff, and traveled with my bivy pack actually, which is pretty awesome, both of them. He's had two different versions of it. So yeah, it was really great to catch up with him and hear about his travels. When I first met him, he was just curious about doing this kind of thing, and now he's been out there doing it. So good to see him. After the conversation with him, I'll catch you up on my travels as best as I can from memory. I think last I left you, I was around Council Bluffs, Omaha kind of area. If you want to keep up with these travels more readily, I highly recommend getting on my Patreon, patreon.com/kenflannery. One of the biggest things I do there for people is I do a podcast like this, but every few days. Sometimes they're as short as 2 minutes, just kind of like micro podcasts, 5 minutes. And especially after a big day of hitchhiking, when everything's fresh in my mind, I get on and chat about it. And you can still access it in your podcast app or whatever, but you got to be on the Patreon to do it. So yeah, we'll get into that. But let's jump into the conversation I just had with Robert. Let's go. You want to tell the world who you are?
My name's Robert.
My name's Kenny. Y'all know me. And we are drinking the most local beer from Alter Brewing. This is an orange creamsicle kind of beer, like a IPA kind of jammer. We just picked it up on our way back from Microphone, which is, I was telling you, the best brewery I've been to in months.
So far.
Cheers. That
shows you who is the experienced beer drinker and who's not.
You got the good can. Shit. I'll tap again. Cheers. All right. So, this is my second time in Chicago, hanging out with you. And now you've traveled around the world.
That's right.
I am.
For the first time in my whole life, did some real traveling last summer.
Yeah. So how did we meet?
So I recall, and man, this must have been, I don't know, like a decade ago or something. Just Googling like how to live a better life with less money, something like that.
That's a long Google search.
Yeah. And just came up with stuff like, traveling for free, travel hacks, and which led to hitchhiking. And how do you? I've heard of hitchhiking from the movies and stuff, but you can actually do that in real life? And I found some forum, which I wish I remember what it was called, but I found a guy named Casper.
Okay.
And
we sort of talked about this, but I was waiting for now so I can actually hear this story, because I know Casper, but yeah. I want to hear. I'm wondering, was it HitchWiki? Like what form?
It may have been HitchWiki.
Okay. But so you found a guy named Casper.
Yeah, and I didn't like join the forum or really participate. I'm barely an internet guy.
Yeah.
But I just found someone on the forum that looked active, and I was like, I'm just gonna email someone straight up and just ask them questions. And I think I just asked a bunch of random, like, how do you hitchhike, and how can a beginner person start hitchhiking? And I think I probably just gave a brief intro, like, I'm from Chicago and I've just been I want to see the world. And he responded to me,
yeah,
which is very cool. And he said, hey man, I'm glad that it's cool that you're interested in this stuff. Since you're in Chicago, you should look up my friend in the States. His name's Kenny Flannery. And he gave me your email.
What year was this? Do you remember? ish.
It must have been. Well, you came to visit in the summer of 2018, so this must have been at least a year or two before that.
Okay.
So, let's say 2016, maybe.
Okay.
Sure.
Just to interrupt the story real quick, just to give the listeners a perspective of where we are. We are in Chicago right now. There's deep dish in the oven, so we got like 50 minutes till that's ready.
That's right.
So
50 minutes.
That's the countdown that we're doing. We're smelling the oven right now. But I just want to put that in perspective. Mm-hmm. So anyways, 2016, you're on the forum. You find Casper, who I know, and I don't think you know that I know. Well, I guess you kind of knew that I must if he suggested that you reach out to me or something.
I didn't know. I mean, he didn't really go into detail. He just said, you know what? You know, we can email if you want, but you can also just look up my friend, Kenny Flannery. He lives in the States. You can talk to him, and I think he also pointed out that he does hitchhiking and, you know, other travel stuff, but he doesn't like live it every day. Whereas Mr. Kenny Flannery embodies the travel.
But Casper is legendary. So I don't know if you know this about Casper, but he was involved in couch surfing, the initiation of couch surfing. He didn't start it, but he was very much a part of why it took off. He was like one of
the original
main developers and
inner
stuff.
circle.
And that's how I met him too. It's because he was part of that group, and he kind of split off because he didn't totally agree with the direction it was going. And he's since started like been involved with like Trust Routes and Be Welcome and all sorts of Hitchwiki.
Did you say he founded Trust Routes? Or he was just part of?
I don't know if he would say he founded it. I think some people might say he founded it, but he was definitely like hyper involved in the start of it, if not technically the founder or something. Mikhail was probably credited as the founder, but yeah, very much involved. And Be Welcome as well. And he helped me with my site Trip Hopping, which I don't know if you know much about.
Is it? I remember the idea of that. Is it still going?
No, it's not going anymore because I was one of the most involved, and then when I became the least involved, that meant no one was involved. Just that's the nature of traveling. I wasn't putting enough intention into it, but Casper helped a lot in that. Like, he's very travel minded and also like a genius as far as tech stuff is concerned. So that makes sense that he like pointed you my way. So thanks,
Casper.
Yeah, cheers, Casper. Last time I saw him, I think it was in Portugal at a Trust Routes like hackathon. So anyways, like, he pointed you my way, and you either I think you probably emailed me.
Yeah, I reached out with email, and so I basically just said all the same stuff that I had said to Casper to you. Like, hey, I live in Chicago, and I've been curious about travel lifestyle, and I'm just a bunch of random questions, and you pretty much responded and answered each point that I had asked, and I just at the time certainly then and for a while I wasn't ready to start going out on my own and traveling yet, but it was so cool that I had gotten to know you and come in contact with you, and this guy who's out there living this lifestyle. You were a real person. You respond to my emails, and
yeah,
because when the internet is a huge universe, and oftentimes you'll reach out and you're just screaming into a void, and but you're there.
So yeah, I remember being in touch and firing some messages back and forth, and then at some point I was cutting across the north, and I guess I was probably seeing my friend Nick in Minneapolis, as I just did, and one way or another, one of us reached out to the other, I guess, and it was just like, I'm going to be close to Chicago. Like, we can actually see each other face to face.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember the exact specifics, because this is a fucking great story, actually. Because I guess I was maybe trying to get from Minneapolis to here in a day or something, or thought I could do that. And then I'm pretty sure it was like a slow day, and somehow I wound up in... Was it Wisconsin Dells? Is that what it's called?
I remember you said the cops were hassling you.
Yeah, I probably got messed with by the cops and just other stuff and just a slow day. And I do remember just like feeling like almost defeated, you know, just like fuck. Because a lot of times I can fairly well accurately like know where I'm going to get in a day. And I'm like, I don't know if it'll take the exact amount of time or twice as long or 3 times as long, but I know I'm going to get there. And I was like, fuck, I'm definitely not getting there. And I was in the Wisconsin Dells, which I'd never heard of or been to. And I finally got to like a bar or something where I could sit down. It's dark. And my whole thing was like, I guess I'm going to find a place where I can camp. And I think there was like another aspect to that. Like the fact that I couldn't get there that night almost meant that I probably wasn't going to be able to see you. Because I feel like maybe I was trying to get somewhere else by a certain date. And by not getting there that day, it might have been like a tough shot to even come through or something. I feel like there might have been something like that.
That could have been.
And anyways, I just remember being bummed in whatever that bar, what's the bar called?
Moose Jaw.
Moose Jaw. So I'm just like, dude, texting you or whatever. I'm like, I'm fucking here. I'm definitely not going to make it. It's late. And you're like, where are you? And I'm like, Wisconsin Dells. And you're like, what bar are you at? And I'm like, someplace called Moose Jaw, I guess. And you're like, okay. So anyways, I'm like, fuck. And I'm looking at Google Maps, just thinking like, where can I stealth camp tonight? Having a beer, nursing it. And then some guy walks up to me. Older guy, and he's just like, Kenny Flannery, how the fuck you doing? And I'm like, all right, and it's your fucking dad.
Yeah, I remember I had texted him saying like, hey, my friend is hitchhiking through. He's trying to get to Chicago, and he's in the Dells, and my dad originally told me, he's like, yeah, I'm really sorry, I can't, I'm busy. I got something going on, and I can't do that. And but
you never told me that your dad lived in it. That's why I was sitting there like I was so fucking shocked. Like I had no idea that I just happened to land in like the area where your dad lives.
Yeah,
like still
like right
3 hours from Chicago or more. Or?
It's 2.5, 3.
2.5. Okay, damn, yeah, I was so fucking close. I didn't make it, but then yeah. Yeah, so I guess you texted your dad, and he did show up.
Yeah.
And I was like, who the fuck are you? And he's like, oh, I'm Robert's dad. I'm like, what the fuck? So he sits down, and we have, I don't know, we at least had a couple beers at this bar, and then I don't even remember the exact specifics, if he was like, maybe you can crash in my place, or what he was telling me. But we wound up at the casino immediately. He's like, well, I'm going to the Ho Chunk casino. Yeah. So then I go to the casino with him, and we're playing craps and shit. And then either before or after, at some point, he was just like, I'm going to drive you to Chicago. So we stayed up, forget how long we were at the casino, and then drove like the 2 or 3 hours and got here at daylight. And ran into you, and then...
Yeah, I remember he called me early that morning, and I was like, "What? You're here? What?" And I thought I wasn't going to see you, because I was like, he's going to have to...
So that must have been the deal. I think he probably was like, you can crash on my couch or something. And then I guess maybe after some time at the casino, he was just like, fuck it, why don't I just drive you down there? Mm-hmm. So yeah, we got here like 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, 7, something. And then we go back to your place, but I couldn't stay there because your stepdad was... not about it.
You stayed, I remember, so you got there like early in the morning after my stepdad had left for work. Yeah. And so you just passed out in my brother's room.
Because I've been up all night with your fucking dad, like gambling and shit. Yeah. So I passed out for what, 2 hours, 4 hours, whatever. Like, and then we had an epic day. Like we went all around.
Went out, hang out, go bowling.
Met some of your friends and stuff. Yeah. Went to Microphone Brewery, we just went tonight. Shout out to Microphone.
Microphone. Went to Kuma's
for burgers. Microphone Brewing, by the way, is like epic. We went there again tonight, which is the first time I've been there since 5 years ago.
Well, I think we should tell a quick little story, too, that Kenny comes in and says, yo, a friend of mine, he says, let's check out breweries around here. And I who don't drink that much, I'm like, where's a good brewery? And then you're like, oh, you know what? A friend of mine said there's this place called Microphone. and he had sent me the address, punch it in, and I'm like, wait, that says it's here in Elk Grove. There's no brewery in Elk Grove. I've lived here my whole life.
Well,
And nah, that's an industrial park. There's nothing but factories there. And we drive there following this address he has in that you have in your phone. And sure enough, we arrive at this brewery, and my mind is blown, and we had a great time.
and now I remember it being great, actually. Not just good, but great in the moment. But now, 5 years later, it's
Even better.
on the way to legendary, I would say. Like, man, they had 7 barrel-aged stouts, like, in August? That's a legendary brewery, in my opinion, like, really good. So anyways, yeah, we spent the whole day doing all this cool shit, hanging out with your friends, and then... Oh, yeah, and then I couldn't stay at the place because your stepdad was, like, not about it.
Yeah.
So,
Just put you up in a local Motel 6 or 8 or something.
yeah, that was pretty awesome. And then in the morning, you and your mom, like, we all had Thai food, and then you dropped me off.
Yeah, that's
like
right.
a pretty good spot on the highway. I mean, it's fucking
Oasis.
Chicago. Goddamn Oasis. I need to look back and see exactly how that day went. But I remember you guys dropped me off, and then I walked down to the ramp, and then a cop right away was just like, "Whoa, I'm a cop." I'm like, "You fucking son of a bitch."
So you would say that Chicago is one of the harder, I mean, cities in general, right? But
It's one of my least favorite places to hitchhike out of. Like, I guess I would say LA is worse. But Chicago is also not fun.
see, I think that's part of what made me so hesitant to try it is just like, I don't know, I've lived in this area my whole life, and I've barely
You
ever
lived in the
seen-
worst place.
Yeah, I've never
Hitchhiking.
seen people hitchhiking, and I just couldn't even, like, when I look around, I'm just like, how would that even work? Like, where would people stop? Why would people stop?
Yeah.
And just, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, all right. So we met. That was almost exactly 5 years ago,
Yeah.
and since then, you've been around the world. Like, you've made some moves.
Yeah. Yeah, so so actually very shortly after you had visited in the summer of 2018, I got a job working at the Apple store at Woodfield. And it was like the first job that I've ever had where if I played my cards right, this could be like a career. You know, I could pay bills, I could move out, I could be my own person. And I tried to do that. I worked really hard. I tried to get full-time. I interviewed for other positions, and it just never happened. And after being there for 4 years, you know, after seeing people that get hired after you getting promoted before you, it becomes pretty clear
Yeah.
that, you know, you don't really have a future there. And so I decided to quit, and, you know, that job had stability, you know, benefits, all that stuff, and I decided to give that up in order to just find a new path. Yeah, it started with going to Portland for my cousin's wedding, which we had been planning for a while. 4 days in Portland, gorgeous area.
Yeah.
I'd never.
And you had a one-way ticket there?
Well, so I had.
Did you have my bivy pack by then too?
I sure did.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the first big voyage that I used the bivy pack with.
So okay, so you have the bivy pack and you fly to Portland, but was it a one-way ticket?
We
or
didn't
was
fly to Portland, took the train to Portland.
Took the oh, so it's a one-way train.
Yeah, a 40-hour train ride, Chicago Union Station to Portland Union Station.
That's a fucking. I'd love to do that train ride.
It was fun.
That's
Met
cool.
some train hoppers along the way. Yeah, it was. I loved it.
So in your head, when you were going, it was a wedding, right? Like,
Yeah.
were you already thinking like this could be the start of something, or were you going like, I'm going to this wedding and I guess I'll be back in a week?
Yeah, on the way there, this was just some trip that we had been planning for a while, and it was going to be 4 days, and then we were just going to come back.
Yeah.
And I think did I have round trip tickets? I don't remember. I can't remember if I canceled them, but
But that was the mindset. Like, we're going to this wedding. It'll be
Yeah.
a cool fucking train ride, and we'll go there.
have
and,
a good time, and
Yeah.
then come back and just
But that's
go
not what
back
happened.
to life. But that's not what happened. So we were there. The trip was 4 days. After 2 days, just having a lot of fun hiking. Again, just man, the Pacific Northwest, absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, it is.
We went to Mount Hood, which is like an hour out from Portland.
And that road along the river,
Yeah,
that's nice.
yeah, it was man. But after being there for 2 days, me and my brother and my cousin, we started talking like, oh, this was so much fun, but man, we got to get back to work and stuff. And then I thought about it. I'm like, wait, I don't have to get back to work. I quit my job. And
Fuck yeah.
just being out there, I had been looking at the map a lot, like, let me see where we're going, the sights I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And it slowly dawned on me that I'm in a place I've never been. I'm in the West Coast. You know, I've always lived in Chicago, right in the middle of the country.
Yeah.
Now I'm close to the ocean. And I said, you know what? I'm close to California. I'm closer to LA than I've ever been before. I could go visit my good friend Vito, who lives in LA. And it would be a lot easier doing it now than it would be doing it from back home in Chicago.
Of course, yeah.
And I thought about it, and I was like, there's literally no reason why I shouldn't do that. Called Vito, said, hey, you want to hang out? He's like, come on over. That was that.
Hell yeah.
So my brother, Thad, unfortunately had to go back home to go back to work.
Yeah. Did he take the train back? Or?
Funny story. I bought him a train ticket, and his train got canceled. I've had nothing but great experiences on the Amtrak.
Yeah.
And that was his first train ride, and he did not have a great experience.
Oh.
His trip got canceled. He had to buy a last-minute flight, which was way more expensive.
Of course.
Really long layover, like an overnight layover in Denver.
But you took the train to LA.
I
You took
took
the coastal.
the
train.
Coast Starlight.
Huh.
And starting in Portland and just going straight down the coast to Southern California.
That is an epic ride, man.
It was gorgeous.
How long did it take? How many times did you stop? And when you stopped, was it just for like 10 minutes at a time? You never transfer. It's like the same train.
Correct. No transfer. It was the same train that I boarded in Portland that I arrived in LA. But yeah, I mean, there would be, each stop, you would stop for like 3 minutes to let people on, let people off. But
So did you ever step off the train? Did it
On the
ever
coast-
stop for like 10 minutes? Or is it always like 3
there are
minutes?
stops. That ride was, I want to say, 25 or 30 hours.
Oh, shit.
So there are definitely stops where, they stop for 20 or 30 minutes and you can get out and stretch your legs. But I think most of those were during the night. We're going through.
So you never stepped off the train?
I don't recall a lot. Yeah, no, I don't think I really did. I think I was mostly sleeping.
You told me earlier that you met like a woman on there who wasn't going anywhere except for that ride. Like
Yeah.
She came for the ride, not to be in LA, not to be in California. She came to be on the train ride. That was her trip.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's an epic fucking train, dude.
It was everyone's looking at their map on their phone like, oh, we're about to see the ocean. Because you're going, through Northern California, and so it's kind of mountainous and stuff. But eventually, the train goes literally like right along the coast. Like you can see the ocean.
Yeah.
And I have never seen the ocean before.
That's fucking wild,
And
dude.
so I went to the viewing car. The car's got big old windows. And so did everybody else.
Yeah.
So it was packed. One seat left. I sit down next to this older lady. And we're both just staring out the window. The train crests around this ridge, and there it is, the Pacific Ocean. Just shining, the sun just glinting off of it. I did see, in the distance, dolphins jumping.
No fucking way.
I'm not even
man.
joking. I couldn't even...
Oh, what?
It was amazing. But after a few minutes just staring off, this lady's right next to me. I just say, oh, isn't it so beautiful? And she looked at me and she said, you know what? I live in New York and I'm on this train just to take this ride. I came here to ride down the coast starlight, and that's part of my vacation. And wow, that's amazing. And she said, yeah, this is all part of my dream that I worked my whole life and saved up so that I could travel the world in my retirement. And then she looked me in the eye and she said, do not do what I did. And I just thought, oh man, what does she mean? And she's like, you should do this right now while you're young.
You were doing it.
And that, like, I was fighting back tears. Like, it made me feel like I was doing the right thing.
Yeah, words of wisdom right there.
Yeah.
She was probably just like, why didn't I do this when I was like in my 20s and 30s and shit? And yeah. I think a lot of people just wait. They think they gotta like earn that trip, or
they work their whole lives so they can do it when they're old. But you can't, there's so much that you cannot really enjoy and appreciate when you're a lot older,
Yeah, it's just going to be different. And it's not just health. I mean, health is like a huge one, because also, like a lot of people when they get into their 60s, there's like a pretty high chance that like one of your knees is a little jonky or whatever, like a foot's fucked up. And then even just like those little limitations make it so you can't like hike to the top of a thing and check some stuff out. But also it means that you can't just like be a little bit wild. And there's a lot, there's a lot you can do when you're 60 and 70. And that's why I fucking love when I meet people that are that age traveling. But you might not necessarily like be able to camp out somewhere or be able to stay up until 3 a.m. and meet some random girl, or can be like running around on the beach at like midnight with some people you met at a fire. Like culturally the vibe might not be there for you when you're 60 to do it. That's not to knock like when you can still do a lot. And that's what I love actually. Like I used to have this whole thing about the different excuses people say at different ages, and the different reverse excuses. So people will be like, oh, you're 20 and you're traveling, like do it while you're young, that's a good call. Or like when you're 40, it's like, oh yeah, it's like your midlife crisis, like you deserve it. Or it's like, oh, you're 60, 70, like yeah, you've worked your whole life, like now this is the time you can travel. Like there's always an excuse. And then there's always the reverse. It's like, you're 20, you should be fucking finding a job. Like it's you're 40, what are you fucking serious? Like don't have a midlife crisis. Like you're 70, like you're too old to do this shit. Like there's two sides to every coin, and it's just like, oh, pick the good one, pick the good side of the coin, and like live on that side. But yeah, you just do have more options when you're younger, so you might as well.
Cheers to that lady.
Cheers
wherever
to that
she
lady.
is now.
To the homies.
So yeah, that felt great. But then I arrived. My good friend Vito picked me up.
Oh, so who is this friend? Just by the way, how do you know him?
He's like my best friend since 7th grade. So
is he's from Chicago?
Yeah,
originally?
He's from here. And we met in 7th grade and just have been best friends since. And he left in what year? He moved out to Arizona. Then to LA, and back to Arizona, then back to LA, then briefly to New Orleans, and then a hurricane came and destroyed everything.
Goddamn hurricanes.
And then he moved back to LA, and he lives and works in North Hollywood, and
how long were you in LA for when you got off the train?
I think that I stayed with him for 2 weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks.
Okay, just getting your kicks, running around LA, seeing what's what.
We did all the LA things. We ate at Jack in the Box. We ate at Fat Burger.
Okay. You went to Venice Beach, you told me,
Venice
Santa
Beach,
Monica Pier.
Swam in the Pacific Ocean.
Oh yeah, you never been to a fucking ocean, man. That's
never
crazy.
Been to the ocean. And the water tastes like just a glass of water with a lot of salt in it.
Yep. Did you get down to like San Diego?
I did not go to San Diego.
Orange County?
No. I basically stayed in LA because, I mean, part of it was I was kind of traveling. I mean, I didn't have a car. I didn't rent a car.
Yeah.
So basically everywhere I was going was either the Amtrak or the buses and trains within the city.
Yeah. Went to Hollywood.
We went to Hollywood, saw the stars.
Okay.
Oh man, I'll tell you what. We drove through the Hollywood Hills.
Yeah.
And that's breathtaking. That's an experience. Just like these houses that I'm sure cost multi-millions of dollars. And it's also, there's a lot of history in Hollywood, like movie history, music history. What's the valley, those valleys, what's the freaking,
with movie stars or something?
well, there was in like the 60s and 70s, there's like a lot of classic rock people that were, I feel bad that I'm forgetting it. Not Runyon Canyon. I'll think of it later.
Yeah.
But basically, we saw just a lot of Laurel Canyon, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Just going through all that stuff.
Yeah, just a lot of history of music, and we saw the house from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is, the house, the Sharon Tate, Roman Polanski.
Oh, yeah. So this whole time that you're going and like checking all this stuff out, you still are just like, you're free. Like you're not like thinking about like much.
Yeah.
Like you're like,
I'm just wait. Every day I wake up and just like, what am I gonna do today? Well, basically anything I want. I don't have to.
Same thing we do.
I don't have to clock in anywhere. I don't have to call anyone, tell them I'll be late.
But then eventually, so you had texted me at some point or several points throughout this, because I remember like hearing what you were up to and sort of like trying to get a grasp on like the little like Amtrak. I'm not going to call it a scam, but I guess I just did.
Loophole.
Little Amtrak loophole thing you got going on. And I think you were either telling me or asking me or something. Just you were informing me that you were out there and doing stuff. And I thought it was fucking badass. It was just because of the way we met and just meeting, and then knowing that you had my bivy pack too was cool. I'm like, yeah, my fucking bivy pack's like out there fucking making moves.
That's right.
And because I do remember you like talking about Hawaii, but you weren't sure or something.
It was, I mean, Hawaii has always been like, I've heard about it. And just I've heard about this place, Hawaii.
I've heard about it,
but it's just the way people talk about it. I'm like, oh my god, it must be just paradise on earth. Wouldn't it be nice to go there someday? But I just never thought I would ever go there. I mean, it's freaking far away. It's expensive. I have to take time off work. But here I am in this new condition. I don't have to. I'm not beholden to anyone. And I'm out west, and I thought about it, and just like I was in Portland, and I'm like, man, I'm closer to LA than I've ever been before. I thought about it in LA. I'm closer to Hawaii than I've ever been before. So I jumped on Kiwi, the flight app that I use at your recommendation.
Yeah, Kiwi.com, Kiwi app. It's awesome.
I found a flight to Hawaii from LAX for $150.
Nice, one way.
One way.
Yeah.
And so
that's what I love about every part of this adventure is that like you got that one-way Amtrak to Portland, you got the one-way Amtrak to LA, and now you're getting a one-way ticket to Hawaii.
It was, it was completely like, and every stop along the way too, I was like, man, I could do this and that and this and that, and then I don't know, maybe I'll find a place to live, maybe I'll find something to do here, and maybe I just won't go back.
Yeah.
Maybe this won't even be...
Well, yeah, you've told me a little bit about this. That's why I'm like taking some words out of your mouth now. But I found it fucking fascinating, like, and fucking cool that like when you got to Hawaii, like that was your mindset. You're like, it wasn't just like, I'm gonna go to Hawaii for a few days or a few weeks or whatever. You're like, I'm gonna go to Hawaii, and then when you're there, you're like, maybe I'll get a job here. Maybe I'll travel around. I don't know, like. Maybe this will be where I'll live. I don't know. Like that's an awesome way to show up to anywhere. Just like,
Yeah.
here I am.
I was definitely just letting stuff happen. I was just picking a direction and going there, and then
See what happens.
yeah.
So you were telling me earlier, like, it was Maui. So I haven't been to Maui yet. I've been to Oahu, Big Island, Kauai. I really want to go to Kauai. I feel like that's a good one.
Yeah, that'd be super cool. That's one of the biggest things that struck me about Hawaii was that each island is like its own thing. Because I just kind of always heard the word Hawaii, and I thought, I know it's multiple islands, but I just thought you're in Hawaii.
Yeah.
But no, like you can go to Maui and have your Maui experience, but you've never been to the Big Island or you've never been to Oahu. Like,
Yeah.
and those are all their own experiences. And I was saying before, I met those people, the native Hawaiians, that was telling me that they were born and raised on Maui and have only been to like 2 other islands in their whole life. And like,
It's pretty wild.
yeah.
You have a timer going on that pizza, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. I was just checking. We're going to be like smell testing in like an hour. Like, ah.
I didn't put it on
That's
the
burning.
oven, but I put it on my Apple Watch.
Okay, cool.
But so it was just, I mean, it didn't disappoint. It was exactly, what I thought it was going to be. The weather was amazing. The terrain, the views, it was gorgeous. And like I was saying before, like being on Maui, especially where I was in Kula, like right in the middle, it was the weirdest thing of just seeing, like looking out and being able to see this whole island and see the ocean on both sides and think, wow, I'm not on a giant continent, I'm on a tiny island. But at the same time, it was also massive. Like I could see mountains in the distance and planes flying low under the clouds and I can see cities,
Yeah.
And it was just, it's hard to describe and it's gorgeous.
Could you see any other islands from that point? Or was it way too far?
Actually, I think very, very far in the distance, you can see the other islands.
Okay.
But it's like tiny. It's like off on the horizon.
I got to the top of the Big Island. And they've got like a big telescope up there. But I don't remember seeing anything past the ocean, past the horizon. But I just remember it being, just kind of a crazy feeling that you are like on top of this big mass and just feeling like you're out in the middle of nowhere, but on top of everything. Like it's
It's also a weird thing too because like I kept talking to people about. I would say stuff like, so back in the States, but I had to remind them, oh wait, I'm technically still in the States.
yeah. That's like Alaska. They'll say like the lower 48 and shit like that. So you were like woofing there, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know the way your woofing experience. Like usually, like woofing, like it's usually like a 3-week is like the standard thing. Anyone listening, sometimes I forget we're not just talking. There's people listening and watching. Like woofing is like working on organic farms, and like it's like work away or help X where you.
Yeah.
The standard is like you work around 20 hours a week in exchange for room and board. The farms are the classic, but it could be a hostel or anything else. But a lot of times I feel like it's like people are usually there for at least 2 or 3 weeks, and sometimes it's like 2 or 3 months, and then like extreme cases it's like a year or some shit. And then it becomes something very different, which is like a year. But you were there for like 3 or 4 days or something.
I was very, very lucky to find a host who, first of all, I booked the plane ticket before finding a host, which I didn't even realize.
That's the move.
Yeah, exactly. But I did find a host very soon after who she did a quick FaceTime with me just to meet me and get to know me, and she said, "Yeah, come on down." And so I got to go to this very nice lady's farm in Kula, and She was super cool, and it was just her and her 11-year-old son there, and she showed me all around the island. We went up to the top of the volcano, dormant volcano. We went to the beach. She showed me a good time. And I would say definitely I did not do that much work for her. I helped to work on a fence.
Yeah.
I helped feed the animals a little bit. But yeah, it was definitely a really cool experience. And one thing a lesson I learned, I suppose, with woofing is to be very upfront and explicit about, like, you know, what are you looking for in a woofer? What are you looking for help-wise? And to also tell them what you're looking for, like how long you want to stay, etc.
Yeah.
Which, of course, was difficult for me because I was like, I just booked a one-way flight and I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. No, it's hugely important. Even in stuff like couch surfing, it's kind of important to like let it's everything really. It's just about expectations and communicating and articulating exactly what it is that you're trying to do. But it sounds like the way it turned out, even though maybe neither of you accurately communicated that it sounds like she needed like a really skilled tradesman.
Right. And
you were willing to, it sounds like you were willing to do whatever, but like whatever for you was just like, I'll work. I'm guessing, maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but like you're probably willing to work like 4, 5, 6, 7, even 8 hours a day, maybe. But if it was just like, grab this and put it over here.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm definitely willing to work and work hard, but yeah, I am not an independently skilled person, let's say.
Yeah. Someone says like build a fence, you could be like,
cool.
So where's the materials and what should I do? Like, that's a post. So how do I dig the hole? If you show me, I will do it.
Yeah.
Every how many feet? 8 feet? Okay, every 8. Like, where someone like that, I could see that, where they're like, build a fence, and then they expect you to know that you need, every 8 feet, you need to dig a fucking hole and put it in a post and then put in the shit. And you're like, I don't make those decisions, but I can do all the shit.
Yeah.
Once you tell me.
That's definitely, I love the idea of woofing, but I would definitely say to someone who's not done it before, you know, be very aware and be very open and honest about your skill set, and then, you know, find out exactly what the host is looking for, because that will make it just more upfront. And
sometimes we're looking for people. My friend Molly, who I've had on this podcast, she's worked with like refugees and other stuff, and there's been a shit ton of people who are like wanting to work with other volunteers. And even when I came to see her in Greece, I was sort of expressed to her, I was like, I'm down to like help out, but like the amount of time it takes to train somebody to like do stuff, that takes her time to explain. Mm-hmm. And for me to come in for a day or two, it's not fucking worth it, you know? Oh. She'd rather just like hang out with me. If I was going to be there for a couple months, only at that point would it be worth her time to even train me, to show me how to do the things that need to be done. Yeah. Otherwise, it's taking away from her time that she could be using more beneficially, you know?
I do know the few woofing experiences I've had have all been like me solo, but I do know that there's a lot of woof hosts that will have multiple people, and I think something I want to try is like working as part of a team, you know?
Yeah. Also, we were talking about something about this earlier. Oh, my buddy with the tattoo shop, Christian. And so actually, if you have a bunch of woofers, because I've been to places that have like a bunch of woofers, like 7, 8. So sometimes like you come and they don't have to do shit. They're like, here you go. And then the other woofers train the new woofer, you know, the new volunteer. So they don't even have to worry about it. Like they've like delegated the delegations. Like, yeah. But yeah, so you were only there, you were only planned to be there for a few days.
Yeah.
Well, you had no real plan, I guess. So it was,
yeah, I was just kind of
worked
seeing,
out however.
And once, you know, she and I talked more and we both realized, like, okay, so you can't really do a whole lot on your own. And then I also realized, okay, so you need someone who can do stuff on their own. And so we're like, okay, well, you know, it was fun while it lasted, but it's time to move on. We
Yeah.
both kind of like came to the same conclusion.
Yeah.
So I ended up actually on the Woof website contacting another Woof host and going there and meeting the owner of the property and his friend that was helping, who ran the Woof account. But that ended up being, let's just say they weren't as prepared as they needed to be to host a woofer.
Okay.
And I had learned from my immediate previous experience to be more aware.
Yeah.
And yeah, I realized, okay, they're not ready.
So how long were you with them? Like
I just
40 minutes?
like
2 hours?
like 2 hours, just kind of
okay. Yeah.
looking at their and they had a really cool property, and I think he had a really cool idea to put up tiny houses and make them Airbnb stuff.
So weird micro question. How did you get from lady's house to their house? You walked, or she gave you a ride, or they picked you up? Or?
She dropped me off at a bus stop, and I took the bus into town, and then I think I met the guy at Target or something.
Okay.
The guy from the farm, and he picked me up in his Nissan Leaf that's even older and even crappier than mine.
Oh, damn. So how many times did you have to charge between Target and his place?
Basically he could go from their place into town, and then he'd have to charge, and then he could go from town to their place, and then he'd have to charge.
Jeez. For everyone listening, you got this Nissan Leaf, like, dude, and that thing, like...
Which
I know electric cars, like, don't have... for me, like, when I think about electric cars, my question is always, like, how long do you go on the battery? And as, like, a fucking road tripper, hitchhiker, especially in the United States, I'm always just... Anytime anyone says anything less than 300 miles, I'm like, what a turd. Yeah. And your thing goes, like, 12 miles. And you need to find a USB-C fucking plug-in, dude.
Which, full disclosure... I love my car.
And also, let's just get it correct. I just made fun of you and said 12 miles, but what is it? Because it's even more embarrassing.
It's like 60 to 70.
60 to 70 miles, dude. Like, what the fuck, dude?
For the majority of the past 4 years, I worked very close to where I lived and barely had to drive, and it worked. But in recent times, I'm definitely feeling the limitations of the range.
I think it really clicked today when we were at the parking garage and it was 100%, and then we just like drove up the street and it was 72%. It was literally dripping battery faster than my phone or anything. I was like, now I get it. Damn.
When it was brand new in 2014, it probably went like 100 to 120, and in 2014, they were probably like, whoa, no way.
We need to re-up this. I'm just grabbing another beer. They can still hear me. Go.
But yeah, so now in 2023, there's definitely, like, I think the same model Nissan Leaf goes at least 200, I believe.
I would hope so.
But yeah, you know, you got your Teslas that go 300, and now friggin' every car company has.
Well, still even me, like, I just bring up 300 because that is sort of the standard number. But like, I'm just like, why the fuck can't you go 600 miles? And then I wonder why. I'm like, why don't they make like a Volkswagen electric? I'm sure they do at this point, but still, I'm like, if that shit can't go, I think 300 miles is probably fair on one charge, but really 400 or 500. But anyways, back to Hawaii. You take his Leaf back to his place, and then you hang out for 2 hours before you realize, not for me. This is not happening. Like, this is not an appropriate situation.
They definitely seem like nice people, but yeah, their property was not set up to host people yet. I think it was a situation where they were hoping to find someone that, you know, just pitch a tent somewhere and like go off on their own and do a bunch of work. And
well, they were probably looking for free labor and just couldn't figure it out.
Yeah.
Didn't think it through.
Someday I'd love to have marketable skills, but not yet.
Well, yeah, sometimes it's like they can't figure it out. Like, figure out a way. I'm sure if they were more organized, they could have utilized basic labor.
Yeah.
Like anyone with property anywhere, if they have any kind of organizational skills, they could have any person just be like, this shit needs to be dug up. Here's it, like, and explain to you, like to anybody.
Yeah.
Like, but if you're not able to articulate the basic labor, and then like you're screwed too. I thought about with the bivy packs, and I tried to set it up, which I don't think you're supposed to do on Workaway or Woofing. It can't be like business related. I didn't know that. But I was like, all right, well, I'm making these bivy packs. What if I can get someone to come here with my buddy in Mississippi, like, to help me with these fucking bivy packs? And even though sewing is a real skill, I was like, even if I just get a 10-year-old, not that it would be a 10-year-old, it would be an 18 or 25-year-old, but I'm like, I can show somebody how to trace backpack straps and cut them out. I can show anyone how to do that. I don't need someone skilled. But I was preparing myself, like as the woofing owner or something. I was at least conscious of thinking of that. I'm like, even if I can't find a skilled sewer, like I can. I was thinking of ways to most efficiently use someone and have a good time, because my buddy was very much willing to feed, and would have been an awesome experience for anyone willing to come. But this didn't work out.
Yeah, I mean, I think people don't realize that,
But at least you got out of there, because this also reminds me of like people trimming weed. I've like had friends who've gone and trimmed weed for people who weren't organized and shit. And like you were there for 2 hours, and like you worked out and they worked out like not the right situation, and you left. I've had people go and trim weed for like a week, and then they realize like, oh, these people aren't going to be able to pay you for a month because they can only pay you once they sell the weed, and these idiots don't know how to sell weed, and it could be a fucking it's a disaster.
Yeah.
So you go there. Within a couple hours, you realize they don't know what they're doing. I can't really help them. This is not a cool place to stay.
Yeah.
I'm leaving. You get a ride back to town.
Guy drove me back to town. We stopped at Zippy's, which is like Hawaiian Denny's. Delicious. Chili rice. Oh my God. And Spam. And then he dropped me off. I just looked up hotels, Google hotels, and he dropped me off at one. And, well, I was thinking of camping for the first time, finally using the bivy pack to camp.
You still haven't used my bivy pack, you son of a bitch.
I'll get there soon. But he was just like, nah, you don't want to camp here.
I can't believe he talked you out of it.
Yeah,
I still kind of can't believe it. I don't know. For anyone listening here who hasn't been to Hawaii, I think we both have the same thing too. Because when I went to Hawaii too, I sort of had the mindset of just like, Hawaii. But then when you get there, at least I got there and it was Honolulu, and I was like, oh, a shitty, trashy city with a bunch of sketchy fucking shit going on around every corner. Like,
there's definitely, it definitely is paradise on earth that became part of the United States, and we brought what capitalism has to offer.
Yeah, there's some concrete jungle aspect to it. So I'm imagining that city. So he talked you out of camping, and then you spent the fucking farm on a hotel room.
I learned the lesson. So I found myself in a position of like, all right, night has fallen. It's time to find out where I'm gonna stay tonight. And so I found myself in a place where camping is not the way to go. And so I said, well, if I can't camp, then I guess I'm staying at a hotel. And I was just, and this is where, I'm just coming from the mindset of living in the suburbs of Chicago. If you need a place to stay, you can find a friggin' motel for like $40 or something.
Right.
But I was on Maui in late July. So I come up to this, not crappy, but like not nice looking hotel. Yeah. And
was
thinking...
it hotelish or motelish?
It was...
Like, were all the doors, when you walked out of your room, were you outside? Or were you in a hallway that went to an elevator downstairs? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Was it a motel or a hotel?
It's hard to describe. It's kind of both. It's kind of better than any motel, but it feels still weird to call it a hotel.
Do you know the difference between a motel and a hotel?
Yeah, like it's like the hotel is like a hotel's kind of like an apartment building, right? And a motel is kind of like
That's how I think of it. A motel is like you walk into the lobby, you check in, and then you walk back outside, and then you walk to your room and you go inside.
it's like you're staying in the
So
garage.
this was a
or
hotel.
something.
Was there an elevator?
I was on the ground floor. I think there may have been an elevator.
All right, let me ask you this. From your room, when you open the door and you're not in your room anymore, are you in a hallway or are you outside?
I was in a hallway.
Okay. Very small distinction. But anyways, you go to this shitty fucking hotel.
Well, let me put it this way. I guess I walked into this place and I was like, all right, this will be like $50 or $60. This is Hawaii. Maybe it'll be like $100.
Yeah.
And I was just prepared. I was like, whatever. I could go for a nice soft bed and a warm bath.
You relinquished yourself to the financial hit.
Yeah. I was like, I'm just, you know what? I'm going to do this and I'm going to at least enjoy it if I'm spending money.
Yeah.
It was not $100. It was $300. And
So fucked.
and as I'm checking in, the guy's saying this, and I just can't bring myself to be like, what? No way. That's not what I.
What time is it?
It was late. It was like 11 or something.
Okay.
Speaking of late, we should check on the ZA, says my Apple Watch.
Is it done?
Can we pause this?
I can keep it going.
Okay.
Is it ready to pull out?
We'll find out.
All right.
I'm gonna go check on the pizza.
I'll keep that going. You pull it out. It probably has to rest or something.
I forget that since I have a mic, they can still hear me.
Yeah.
As I walk away off camera.
Yeah, no, they can still hear you. So, we were talking about different stuff to do in Chicago, and obviously deep dish came up because they don't have real pizza in Chicago, but they have this stuff called deep dish.
That's pizza pie.
So, we just found some at the store to put and cook right here. So, it's basically ready. But I'm sure it has to like chill for a second. We did go and get Chicago hot dogs today at Portillo's, right?
Yes.
Portillo's, and pretty good. It's like a hot dog with a bunch of shit on it. They call them sport peppers.
Yeah, the long little green peppers.
They call them sport peppers, right?
They are not. Why we call them sport peppers, I am not sure.
I'm not sure either. Like they're cool though. I like them. They're good peppers.
They're not jalapenos, but they are long and green.
Yeah, they're not spicy, almost at all. There's like a little spice to them, I guess, but they're tasty. So we went and got those, and now we got the official deep dish going on. In addition to the beers, I'm trying to check some of the boxes as far as like eating good food. We were talking earlier about like I'd been on the road for like 3 years. So like the first 3 years I was traveling was mostly like North America, and just eating kind of as cheaply as possible, trying to stretch my dollars, hoboing around. And it wasn't until I actually got to Thailand where I could afford to eat real good, and sort of made a point of like eating the good food wherever I was and am, which I really hit home one time in France when I had like less than 50 euros left, and it's just like I was like, I have to eat foie gras and like duck and all this stuff, and spent more than half my money that I had left, drained my shit down, and I was like, I just have to do it. So anyways, that's why we're kind of going for it right now. How does it look compared to like legit? What's the place that you were mentioning is like super good? Or your favorite personal place for deep dish?
I like Pequod's.
Pequod's.
Yeah.
Pequod's.
I would normally I would say Lou Malnati's, which is the very widespread, well-known. It's usually, most people will say Lou Malnati's or Giordano's.
Okay.
But recently I've discovered that I really like Pequod's.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of these times we'll go there. Maybe the next time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, having a big group of people go out to a deep dish place is quite an experience.
that seems like the move. So I was telling you, like, the first time I came here, and like I was like, I gotta have this shit. I was by myself, and I think it was a Giordano. And there's like 10 of those Giordanos, or 4 or 5 or 20.
10 seems right, maybe more.
I think that's where I wound up, and I just remember being so out of place, especially by myself. There was tablecloths and shit, dude.
Yeah.
It's gross, and I was like, oh fuck. And I think I didn't realize it's not pizza. Why do they call it pizza? Can they please just not call it pizza? Call it what is it? It's like fucking bread bowl.
Yeah, it's a pie. It's like
pie.
Pie.
Like, it's not a lasagna. It's like a fucking casserole. It's a Chicago casserole, which is not conducive to, because when you think pizza from New York, you're like, let me grab a slice.
Yeah.
That's a very individual thing. But
can-
as a person,
You cannot fold it. Let's put it that way.
can't do shit with it, dude. So like, as a regular person, by myself, in Chicago, I'm like, let me try this thing that's fucking, and then it's like, oh my God, dude, I gotta sit at a booth by myself, and they bring me this whole fucking thing, and I'm like, God, they give me silverware. I'm like, all right, I think I made a mistake. But it was good. It was super good. I remember being fucking awesome, but it was like, but now you've told me, and this is still on my list. I feel like I properly haven't had it. I feel like and correct me if I'm wrong, the way to have deep dish pizza is with like at least 5 people, probably 7.
It's definitely like a special occasion food.
Yeah, and you all split the big
All right.
casserole.
Yeah. But when you can't go out with a big group of people to a fancy restaurant, you can always go out with your friend to Whole Foods and buy a frozen deep dish.
Yeah. And apparently this is one of the better ones. That made me feel better because we met one of your friends today, and he was like, oh, you got what? Fitz's? Is that what it's called? Fitz's?
Yeah.
Like, he was stoked.
Pizza.
So I think we're about to like be
Thank
in
you,
heaven.
Adam.
right here. All right. Do we have to wait? Is it good to go?
It's good to go.
All right. Well, we still have more to talk about. So should we pause and then jump right back?
We'll take a deep dish break.
We're taking a deep dish break. We'll be right back. All right. We just had some deep dish evidence.
There you go. The bones of the pizza.
I'm not super stoked, dude.
I may have left it in a little bit too long.
Maybe. Yeah, it was good, but it's like
I like the sauce. I like the cheese. The crust was a little well done.
I mean, the crust is it's not pizza, man. It's like, I don't know. I think that's why some people in New York get upset, particularly in New York, because it's like, our pizza versus your pizza. It's like, no, you're fucking chicken pot pie versus our pizza.
It is. It really it puts the pie in pizza pie, right?
I feel like it would be more universally accepted if you guys just called it what it was. I don't know why I'm like attacking you.
Pizza pot pie.
Yeah, pizza pot pie. It doesn't suck, you know? I'd rather eat that than get stabbed. Like for sure, dude.
Knowing that there is some food that does suck, it feels good to hear someone say that it doesn't suck.
Yeah. Yeah. But we had the best frozen version
There you go.
of that, so cheers to that. Happy days. So we left off, you have gone to Portland for a wedding, and you decided, I'm traveling now, fuck all this, and you hop a train to LA, catch up with a friend, get all your kicks in Southern California, realize there's only a short amount of ocean between me and Hawaii. I'm going to Hawaii, and maybe I'll live there forever. You go there, you start woofing with a lady, you realize mutually, I can't do all the things you want. I'm just trying to be here in Hawaii and have a good time. And she's like, move on. You go and meet somebody else. I'm doing a good recap here.
You are. That's a really good recap.
You meet somebody else who's looking for a woofer, and you hang out with them for all of 2 hours to realize they don't quite know what they want, / they're in an old meth area.
Yeah.
Things are not great where they want you to stay and stuff. It's on broken glass, etc. Not ideal. They drop you off in town. You are forced to pay for an extremely expensive, a $300 hotel room, because that's a cheap hotel room in fucking Maui.
Yeah, I learned that lesson the hard way.
And that's where we left off. So enter $300 hotel room that you were hoping would be $80.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, it wasn't a bad place by any means. It was a nice soft bed. They had washer and dryer for me to do my laundry. There was a pool. Had a beautiful view, of course. It's Hawaii.
Shit.
But I will say there's one thing that I was really looking forward to, which is kind of something I associate with staying in a hotel, is taking a warm bath. Because, I don't know, I'm weird like that, I guess. But there was no bath. It was just a shower. And it was also like, it was just a shower curtain. Like, there was no, like, really secure thing keeping the water out of the shower from just getting all over the floor in the bathroom. So it did indeed get all over the floor. And yeah, it was weird. And I feel bad. So I would like to formally apologize to them. I think it was called the Maui Seaside Hotel, but I think I left them like a 1 star on their
Like,
their little...
you're formally apologizing / epically telling everyone how much they suck. Which
Yes.
one is it?
Please replace all your showers with baths.
So one thing that's common in parts of Asia that I've been to is like the bathroom is the shower. So you walk into a bathroom and let's say it's 4 feet by 4 feet, the entire bathroom. There's a toilet there. There's also a shower head. But that's all the same area. So like literally you just turn on the shower head and like you're all in the same 4 by 4 foot tiled area. So the shower starts coming down. You can literally just be taking a shit and turn on the shower and start shampooing your hair and shitting at the same time, multitasking.
That actually sounds...
It's kind of... And there's a drain in the middle of the room. The 4 by 4 foot room.
It actually sounds nice.
It's, once you get used to it, it kind of is sort of nice. And you do, and I have just started taking a shit and I turn on the shower. And while I'm taking a shit, like I'm shampooing my hair and just daydreaming, as you do. You know?
So next stop I need to take is Asia.
Yeah. Yeah. Good work. I mean, Hawaii's not that far of a call.
Yeah. I have since learned that stuff like that I think is like a space-saving thing. And, you know, being from, again, the Chicago suburbs, like, that's not, just being in the mainland, I guess, you know, it's not.
You're in the tub, shitting. At the same time.
Right.
Like, how efficient
That's
is
just
this?
normal for us.
So that was just one night you were in this $300 tubless hotel room.
I slept well. I was determined to get something out of this $300 hotel.
Yeah.
But the next night I just got on Google and found a hostel, which was like this weird thing because it was a hostel that had its own website, but like when you start booking, it's through Airbnb. So like, is it a hostel or is it Airbnb?
No, I've realized all those fuckers try to cross-pollinate.
Yeah.
Like Airbnb, hotels put their shit on Airbnb, hostels will, like, I don't know, everybody tries to put their shit on everything.
The cross-pollination.
Yeah. So what did it actually feel like when you were there? Not the booking experience, but you were there.
It
felt
didn't
like a hotel.
feel, it was like, it felt like a dorm room, to be honest. I think that's the best way. It was just this tiny little bunk bed and
But by yourself, you weren't.
Correct. I think that at any point another person could have walked in because it was a bunk bed situation in a tiny room, but no one ever did.
Was there a shared bathroom down the hallway, or something?
There
like
was a
that?
bathroom like in the unit, I guess.
Was it your bathroom? You know what I mean? Or could have anyone walked in and took a shit with you?
Like only someone I'm thinking. I don't think I rented both beds, I guess. Like I think I just rented one bed in the room, so I think if someone else had booked that room for like one bed, I think. I could be wrong. Maybe my booking just got that room. But it was there was a bathroom in the room.
Dedicated
It was not
okay.
It was not for the whole building.
Yeah. No, because I've been in San Francisco hitchhiking with a girlfriend, and she found a hostel. And she's like, I'm booking us a hostel. It was like my birthday, or the night before my birthday. She's like, fuck it. Because I was ready to like stealth camp under a bridge. And she's like, fuck that. And we're getting a hostel. And she booked a, quote, hostel. But it was on the 4th floor of a building. It was a fucking hotel room. But down a hallway, there's like 5-10 rooms. And then there's one bathroom for all those rooms down the hallway.
Huh.
So it's very, I guess that's what made it a hostel. And there's no like common area. There's nothing about it that was a hostel. Because when I think hostel, I think multiple common areas and then multiple rooms with bunk beds. And maybe there's a couple private rooms. But there has to be like that common area where people hang out and shit like that. And it was very much not that.
I did forget to mention that, the first night that my brother and I arrived in Portland, we stayed at what they call a hostel. So this is the first hostel experience I ever had. But it was like 8, I think it was 4 different bunk beds, so 8 separate beds in one room. And then that 8-bedroom shared a bathroom with another 8-bedroom.
Where was the girl masturbating loudly? Am I jumping ahead in time?
That's in Norway.
Okay, I'm jumping ahead. I'm jumping ahead. Teaser.
Yeah, that's the first real hostel experience.
Okay, so we'll get to that. But so this is like a fake hostel. But this is night number 2.
This is night.
How far is this from the tubless $300 room? A mile?
It's in the same city.
A few miles. The same city.
Okay. Yeah. Kahului.
So you stay there, second night, fake hostel, then what?
Yeah. So that night, that was the final night that I spent in Hawaii. Well, so yeah, I slept there that night. I had went out to get some Chinese food. I heard some music playing, followed it down the street, went up doing karaoke at this awesome bar. People from all over the world just chilling in Hawaii. Great time. But yeah, then I went, slept at the hostel. Then the next day, that was when I was like, all right, this was awesome, but if I don't, since woofing didn't work out in a long-term way, I'm not going to be spending. That hostel was $100. Hostel.
Jesus.
And that previous night hotel room was $300. So I couldn't keep spending that much money. So I was like, all right, I'm going to fly back to LA. So I did. I hooked up with my friend Vito. And I was going to stay like 3 more days or something because his birthday was then. And I was going to then take the Amtrak, I think it was the Southwest Chief or the Texas Eagle, one of those.
Cool names. Amtrak, shout out.
I was going to take those, through the Southwest and back up to Chicago. But I got back to LA and Vito's place, and I had a bit of a sore throat.
Yeah.
Guess what that meant? I got COVID.
Yeah. This is 2021?
2022.
2022.
Yeah, last
okay.
year. So COVID, still existed. I think it wasn't like now where it feels like everywhere it's just kind of in the past, but like it was mostly in the past, but like sometimes some people wore masks. Anyway, I got COVID and it was terrible. I was basically like a textbook. Like I had just everything: fever, chills, coughing, sneezing, runny nose, body aches. Yeah. I felt terrible for like a week.
So actually,
Or,
this is the worst part of your story, the dumbest part, the best part. Spoiler, he's told me this part of the story before, and I can't wait to hear it again.
yeah. I'm staying in this little apartment with my friend, and I'm like, I don't want to give him COVID.
So you got the sore throat, you got the proper test, and then you're like, I have COVID.
Yeah, I went to Walgreens and got a
Pregnancy
COVID
test
test
style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuck the pregnancy test up my nose. And it was positive. And so I was like, all right, well, I got to get out of this apartment. I don't want to give my friend COVID. But I had actually just recently booked the train ticket. And I booked a room. I should have taken that. I don't know.
You booked a private room on an Amtrak, which is fucking sick. That is baller as fuck, dude. To have your own room, cabin. I think they call it a cabin, don't they?
Yeah.
Do they?
I think
They call it a cabin. So you had a cabin on an Amtrak, private, by yourself, going, what, to Texas and north?
Yes, yeah, through the Southwest, then up through Texas and
Yep.
Missouri.
But what did you decide to do?
I was like, well, I can't. I was thinking if I get on the train, I'm going to give everyone on the train COVID.
Okay.
But if I stay in Vito's apartment, I'm going to give Vito COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was like, I'll get on a plane and and I hope I didn't give everyone on the plane COVID.
And lose your entire ticket. The whole value of your Amtrak ticket you throw away.
Yeah, so I canceled it. And I called them. I was like, yeah, you know what? I got COVID. I can't take this trip. And they're like, okay, cool. We'll refund it. But they refunded it. Instead of giving me a voucher, they refunded it back to the card that was the travel card that I had as a benefit through Apple that was closed since I had quit working at Apple.
So they basically threw it into a black hole.
$600.
$600.
Flushed down the toilet.
And instead of going on a private cabin on an Amtrak, and to avoid passing people COVID, you got on a small tube through the sky next to probably 80 people, and you're like, this is better.
And I wore 2 masks, so maybe I only gave half of the plane COVID.
You probably gave no one COVID. Apparently, that's like the best place you can be, actually, is on a plane. I don't know, something about their circulation system.
Oh.
That's the fucking propaganda they spit.
I'm going to choose to believe that.
Yeah, no, do it. It makes it better. But if you don't believe that, then you should have been on a sick fucking train ride going through the fucking Southwest and just cruising.
Yeah.
But anyways, that's the end of
Part 1
of
my travels.
Of your epic adventures.
The end of part 1 of this podcast was a few minutes ago.
Yeah. Wouldn't that have been sweet if we did that and then the pizza was ready?
That would have been really good.
But now we're jumping into part 2.
So I got home to Chicago.
We still need to find out about this masturbating girl. Some people are waiting just to hear about her. We should have teased that in the beginning.
That should be, that'll be the intro. I got home to Chicago. I basically just lived in the basement of my house, and I felt terrible for a week. But then I got better. I still had that awful lingering dry cough. But at the end of August, my brother had just gotten accepted to Columbia University.
Well, I just met a couple nights ago. That guy's cool as shit.
That's right. He'll be glad to hear that. Look at that, Thad. Can he approve?
Start drinking beer again. I feel like that's irresponsible to tell people, but anyways, I feel like a sip at a time, sip at a time.
Sip at a time.
So anyways, he gets accepted to Columbia.
Columbia University in New York City. And so I jump in the car with him, and we drive straight down through Indiana, through Ohio, through Pennsylvania.
You don't stop at all?
We stopped at a rest stop in Pennsylvania for like 3 hours, and I got like an hour of sleep, and I think maybe he got an hour or two.
Yeah. You guys were switching off driving.
I wish I wanted to like stop at a motel, but he's like, nah, we're gonna do this.
So you didn't stop anywhere to like check out culture or anything. You're like, fuck this.
Nah,
let's cut out the whole country.
We did not stop at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame like we should have.
So you drive all the way to New York City, like to Manhattan?
Yeah. Well, to the Bronx.
Okay.
Technically, we did go through New Jersey. I always can't forget about New Jersey, the Garden State. I will say, like, one of the things that struck me was like, it is really green in that area, like, just around the whole city. It's a beautiful area.
It's gorgeous.
And there was a gas station in New Jersey where I found hot and spicy Chex Mix, which, you know, you can't find that anywhere around here. So,
oh shit!
It made me very happy.
All right.
Pennsylvania was wonderful too.
All right, so let me ask you this. And I know you're about to maybe say it. So you go there because he's gotten accepted to Columbia. Mm-hmm. So he's going there to move there.
Yeah.
Oh, so first of all, does he know where he's staying? Do you guys know where you're staying?
So he got a room in a house that is owned by a friend of our cousin who is named Kenny.
Established before the drive out.
Correct, yeah. So we had a destination. So that, yeah, it was.
And why are you going with him?
Just because I want to.
Just because you want to. And you're jobless?
I'm still jobless.
Still jobless. So how long has it been between getting back from Hawaii and et cetera?
I would have still, I think, been doing stuff if it hadn't been for the COVID break.
So how long were you back in Chicago?
Basically the month of August.
Oh, so just a month.
Yeah.
So now he's going and you're like, I'm going with you. I don't know what's going on.
Exactly.
Maybe I'll pretend to go to Columbia too.
It was actually the day that we pulled in, I helped him unload some stuff from the car, and then I took a quick shower, and then I immediately just jumped on a train to go visit some other friends of mine that I had not seen in a long time.
Yeah.
My friend Brittany and her husband Ben in Rhode Island. And so I took a train from New York up to Rhode Island. I stayed at their house. They showed me a great Rhode Island time. We went to an aquarium, had some clam chowder, went to Providence for water fire.
You saw the other ocean, didn't you?
That's right. And I saw the Atlantic Ocean and swam in the Atlantic Ocean.
Which ocean is better?
Oh, that's a tough call. Let me put it this way, actually. Both oceans are great, but only one of those oceans has Hawaii.
Oh, shit. Okay. So, Pacific Ocean, better ocean.
From Hawaii.
All right, so you go to Rhode Island, kicks.
Yeah.
And then you go back to New York?
I think I was in Rhode Island for like a week and a half. Then I get on that same train back down to New York. And then, so I'm staying with my brother. He's actually, so the brother of the lady who owns the house where he's renting a room, the brother of that lady, he and his wife and their young child own a house in Greenwich, Connecticut. But they, completely coincidentally, are visiting her father in Chicago.
Yeah.
And so they need someone to watch the house and their two cats. And so Thad, my brother Thad, is staying at this house in Greenwich for free. And so I stayed with him. And so we're living in Greenwich. He's going to New York for school. So we're doing New York stuff, and we did some Connecticut stuff. We drove up to New Haven. We saw Yale, which is cool.
How did the pizza compare to the pie that we had here?
Yeah, we had the New Haven pizza. They call it a pizza or something. I don't know if you've ever seen. It's literally the word pizza, but with an A in the front. Okay. Yeah, I read the whole Wikipedia article. I thought it was good. There's a white clam pie that they have, and a really good tomato pizza. I thought it was delicious.
So after like having pizza, do you get pissed off? at people in Chicago for calling like this pizza? Or does that bother you, or
It's well, you know, it's
do you get violent?
the way I see it is pizza is one of the greatest things in life because even when it's bad, it's good.
It's good. It's good. But like when you come back to Chicago and they try to call this pizza, like do you get upset and do you try to correct them and be like, that's not pizza, that's
pizza.
a bread bowl, or...
That's a bowl of sauce with cheese. I will say the very first time when I was a kid that I had deep dish, I didn't like it at all.
You didn't like it?
Nah, when I was a kid, I was like, basically the exact reaction you're describing. I was like, this isn't pizza. Pizza is a thing with...
Well, it's definitely
got
not
cheese on
pizza,
top.
but I think it's good.
Yeah.
But you just didn't like it. Period.
Nah, when I was a kid, I did not. But I developed a taste for it.
Okay. I think it's good. I just think it's just kind of funny for most people around like the country. When like people are like, "Oh, this is deep dish pizza," it's like, why don't you just call it something? Like, why are you trying to call it pizza?
a Chicago pie?
Yeah, I think that's why some people get it, and some people actually don't like it because you call it pizza. Where it's like, just because they're like faking it, it'd almost just be like if you get a blowjob and someone's like, "That's a flutterbug," and like, "That's not a flutterbug. I don't like flutterbugs." Like,
Who doesn't like flutterbugs?
yeah, god damn it. So you had some pizza in New Haven.
Yeah, which was good. Had a white birch soda. That was good.
Nice.
But we also did all the New York stuff. We saw Statue of Liberty, Times Square, Grand Central Station, where once upon a time Kenny Flannery worked.
I did. That's the last place I worked. Depending on the day, the 4th, the 5th, or the 6th floor. Those were
I also
fun
saw
times.
the Moynihan Train Hall, where I dropped my phone and cracked the screen.
Shouldn't have done that.
Shouldn't have done that.
How long were you there?
In New York?
Yeah, all together.
Maybe 2 weeks before I ended up going to, well, here's the grand finale of my travels. So just like I was in LA and I was like, how much would it cost to fly to Hawaii? I was in New York and I'm like, I'm closer to Europe than I've ever been. It was $150 to fly to Hawaii. It was $130 to fly to Norway.
Fuck him. All right.
And so there I was, another one-way plane ticket.
We're coming to the final act of your travels now.
Final act. And finally, I employed the legendary couch surfing. I had never done it before. I'd had an account for a while.
Yeah.
Of course, couch surfing is not today anything near what it used to be in the glory days.
Yeah. So you must have paid for it then.
I did pay for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You tossed him a fucking nickel. I'm so fucking pissed off. Anyone listening and watching right now, I'm so fucking pissed off at couch surfing. And this is my best way to describe it. They started charging money.
Yeah.
Out of fucking nowhere. And not only did they start charging money to use the site, but they started charging money just to fucking log in and see your old messages. Any other site, any other dating site, even a fucking dating site will let you like look at all the girls and look through profiles. And then when it comes time to send a message, they're like, you need to be a member. Obviously not like Tinder and shit, but I imagine like eHarmony and shit. They let you do things. Mm-hmm. But couch surfing, they don't even let you fucking like really log in.
Yeah.
But it's like $12 or $14 a year. And that's why I keep saying that's the equivalent of like walking into a bar. But as soon as you get up to the bar, the bouncer's like, give me a dime. Covers a dime. 2 nickels, bitch. And you're like, what the fuck, dude? Like, if you charge me $5, $10, okay. You're like, I don't know. To get to the door and they're just like, give me a couple nickels, you fuck. Fucking assholes. But anyways, you gave them the couple nickels.
I felt like I had to give them those nickels just to try.
It's fair. It's been an amazing site for over a fucking decade, so I don't know. I got my own fucking beef with it. But you had a weird experience.
So I sent out a couple messages and I got a response from this young Ukrainian couple who were fleeing the war, and so they got lucky enough to get a place in Oslo, and they responded to me, and they're like, "Hey, thanks for contacting us, and we'd love to have you at our place." And so I arranged to go stay at their place, and I flew to Oslo, and I took a train from the train station out to where they are, and yeah, I met this girl. They were a young couple. The guy was off at work. She was like, "Welcome to our home. Make yourself at home." Super nice. She cooked some food.
She picked you up, or you met her at their apartment?
It
was it an apartment or a house?
It's a like a town home.
Okay.
You
met her there, or she scooped you up?
I met her there.
Okay.
Yeah, they did not have
knocked
a
on the
car.
door?
Yeah, I knocked on the door.
Yeah.
I knocked on the wrong door at first, but luckily no one came to the door.
Okay.
Yeah, they were just super nice young couple, and we just chatted for a while, and I went to the grocery store with her, and she cooked a meal, and
Nice.
I just spent the night the first night. The next day I went out and did a hangout, couchsurfing hangout.
Yeah.
And I met some really cool people. I even met a guy from Austria that named Dennis, who was doing basically the same thing. He had recently left his job and was just kind of traveling, just kind of see more of the world. And I'm still in touch with him. But these people, they were like, "Hey, so, do you have... We have another couch surfer coming, so that she's going to take the guest room, but if you haven't lined up another place to stay, you can stay on our couch." And I was like, "Oh,
That's pretty cool.
yeah, thank you for that. That's super nice. I was going to probably stay in a hostel, but I haven't booked one yet, so yeah, I'll stay one more night." And so I slept on their couch. It was cool. I met the other couch surfer. We all had breakfast together. It was great. And then we parted ways. She gave me some Ukrainian currency as like a little souvenir. I told her, "Oh, don't give me money." And she's like, No, it's just take it. It's like, it's not worth anything right now.
Like a
It's
coin
just
or a bill?
Some bills. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She explained to me all the stories about the person on it, and
Yeah.
it was cool. And we
She's
hugged
like, "This
goodbye.
is worth a nickel."
Yeah.
Or whatever. Yeah. That's cool.
And then, so I ended up meeting up with that guy, Dennis. We hung out a little more that day, and then he was like, "Yeah, come stay at this hostel I'm at. It's pretty cool." So I did. I booked a bed there, and two interesting things happened that night. Well, actually, three interesting things. First, after lights out, some guy comes in and flips the lights on, and he's like, No, only just 5 minutes." And he starts just praying at the top of his lungs at like midnight, and everyone's like, "Why are you doing this? Turn the lights back off."
What the fuck?
Another thing,
Inconsiderate.
yeah. Another thing is I'm just flipping through my phone notifications, and it says that your hosts have left you a review, and so in
The
order
couch
to
surfing host you stayed with the night before.
yeah, the couch surfing host has left you a review, and so in order to view your review, you have to leave them a review. So I did,
Yeah.
and I said, "Oh, it was such a great experience, and they're such great people, and I'm so thankful."
Nice.
And yeah, it was really fun. I would love to stay with them again. I would recommend them to anyone.
Yeah.
And then it gave me access to their review, and it was like, "Robert was a terrible guest, and he demanded to stay another night, even though we didn't arrange that, and
Jesus.
he didn't use the blanket cover like we told him to." That part's true, which I didn't understand what a blanket cover is, which I now know is like
That's a
duvet
duvet cover.
right? Yeah, it's
okay.
it's not really a thing in the States, right? I mean, I've never seen it.
I have seen duvet covers. I know what it is, but I know what it is because I've stayed with hundreds of fucking people. Like, it's not like It's not a normal thing to know about, I think. I think people who know about it are like, it's a fucking duvet cover, asshole.
But
Which
it's
is
not-
maybe what they were thinking.
Maybe that's.
But if you don't
probably-
know what a duvet cover is, you're like, thanks for the thick blanket and the shitty sheet. Like,
Yeah, that's exactly. And I was
cool.
like, it's still kind of hot. I don't need an extra blanket, so I just left it folded up, sitting there. And then she was like, "Oh, why didn't you?"
fucking refugees, man. I think this is what some people don't fucking understand. It's like a lot of refugees are fucking rich cunts. I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say it on the Freestyle Travel Show, dude. People don't understand this. If you're an actual refugee and you've escaped, it's because you got a fuck ton of money. Because the poor fucking refugees, guess what? They're not refugees. They're stuck in Ukraine. If you're poor as fuck, you're still there.
That's an
A
interesting
lot of
point.
refugees are rich as fuck and they can afford to fucking leave with their fucking duvet covers. And they're like, I fucking made it to Norway. Guess what I'm getting? A duvet with a
duvet.
cover. And then I'm going to leave a guy a fucking negative reference for not knowing what a fucking duvet cover is.
If that's
Like,
what it was, I apologize profusely for the duvet cover. But basically, they completely like ruined my future couchsurfing prospects because I have one review and it's negative.
Yeah. All right, so I'll tell you a few things right now. First of all, fuck, that sucks, dude. Like, if you get a negative reference on couchsurfing, you're fucked. You're basically fucked. Unless you have already like 20 or more, and then maybe people will read between the lines on your one negative. But yeah, you're definitely fucked. And what I also learned is that some people do get, a lot of people have gotten negative references on couchsurfing. And what do? You create a new profile with a different username and shit. But you know how they started learning that in couchsurfing? It's kind of clever because people would do that. And some of these people are like bad people, not like you. Like you fucking didn't know what a duvet cover was.
That's right. I'm not a bit.
Not a bad person. But some people are just like, I love to semi-rape travel girls. Bad people. But, so the way they would catch these people is because they would create a new profile with a different email address, which is easy. But they would always use the same password. Dogfish Head 2016. You know, that'd be their password. So, even Couchsurfing, a dumbass fucking organization, even in the beginning, would cross-reference password usage. So people would create new profiles, and then but they would see, like, the unique password, Dogfish Head 2016 or something, and be like, all right, that's the same fucking guy. And they would catch him. So, I guess what I'm telling you is if you want to create a new Couchsurfing profile, use a different email address,
And a
and
different
don't
password.
use the same password. And we'll get you going. Between me and whoever's watching, like, give you 4 references. I feel like Couchsurfing, if you have 4 references is kind of the same as 20, you know? Once you have 4 reference, like, I always think that. I'm a little different too. I like to stay with people who have 0 references and shit like that too. But I feel like 4 is not that much different than 10.
I almost, to be honest, I want to just like take my profile and just make it good though. Just be like, yo, even though you gave me that terrible reference, I rescued this profile from the ashes. From the flames.
Oh, you could do that too. I hope Trust Roots or Couchers or those other
Be welcome.
Be Welcome's been around just as long as Couchsurfing. So
Serva?
Servas, yeah. I mean, they are where they are, you know. I feel like if anything is gonna take off, it's probably gonna be Couchers or Trust Roots.
Golden showers?
Golden showers. Dude, I'm telling you, dude, I'm the only person in the world where a bartender's like, I know this guy coming through with some golden showers, and I'm just like, fuck yeah. Oh, man. So, to sort of start wrapping it up, you had that experience. Well, that's unfortunate with the couch surfing part of it. But fuck it. Just move on to...
But I also met some really cool people through the Hangouts, and so it was not a completely negative experience.
Yeah.
Had a great time in Oslo, took a boat down to Copenhagen, had a great 3 days there, took a boat down to Germany, had a great time there, ended up flying to London from Berlin, and then back to New York. But I had an amazing time traveling the world, seeing other countries, seeing other cool parts of the U.S. And
How long have you been back in Chicago now for?
Well, my travels came to an end at the end of September, basically,
Okay.
of
so
last year.
Less than a year you've been back here in
And
Chicago.
yeah,
Ish.
almost coming up on a year back in Chicago. Yeah, just figuring things out where I am now, and hopefully get back out, do some traveling.
Do you you think you will do some traveling for sure, but like what is I don't know, what does that look like to you?
I'd love to go visit my friend again that I met. I'd love to visit him in his place at Vienna.
Okay.
I would love to see Asia. Like, I want to see Japan. I want to see Thailand. I'd like to see China.
So what is stopping you?
Well, that's I guess. I mean, I'm allowing money to stop me, but I know that's there are ways around that.
Yeah.
But
All right, let me put it this way. What if so you've kind of told me how much you've got, like over $1,000 in the bank, less than 2,000, something like
I
that.
got like 1,500 right now.
You sort of told me. What if like you saw a plane ticket from here to Thailand for $700, which would be a fucking massive score, actually. That would be like pretty crazy. But if you saw it, would you be nervous? Because you don't have enough to get back. Because first of all, $700 from here to Thailand would be like a pretty smasher. That'd be a smasher ticket. That'd be pretty sick. Like even LA to Thailand for $1,000 would be a smasher. Would you not do that? Would you like want to have like 2,000 on the back in the back pocket? Like,
I mean, I think, you know, having more money always makes you feel more comfortable, but
well, yeah.
I think the key is to not need to be completely comfortable. Like, to just know that you could take care of yourself.
Well, yeah, but do you have a target in mind? Do you have a thought in mind as far as like...
As far as money, like how much?
Or as far as anything, as far... yeah, as money, but traveling, like, do you... Like...
At the moment, no. I mean, that's the thing, is like I haven't made specific plans.
So my question is, like, what if, like, we went outside and there's, like, some fucking random asshole who's just like, here's $10,000, I need to run away. He just gave you $10,000. And then we came back inside. Like, would you be like, I'm going here? Or would you be like, oh, I actually got a couple other things I'm doing? And
with 10 grand, yeah, I would go to Paris, I would go to London.
Like tomorrow? Or, like, in a few weeks? Like,
maybe tomorrow, yeah.
Okay. That's what I'm wondering. Like, is it money? Is it time? And this is like, I don't know. I get other people asking me this shit all the time because, you know, they see that I'm traveling and they got different fucking ideas of what they're doing. And like, the funniest thing to me always is when someone's just like, I've got like fucking $4,000 and I don't know what and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, I've had $4,000 before, like 5 or 6 times I've had $4,000, like I've had it. I'm like, what? And they're like, I don't know what to do.
I think
like anything you want. Like with $4,000, you can fly anywhere in the world with $4,000 and have a good time and enough to get back.
I think that the biggest thing is that people live a certain lifestyle and they know a certain way of taking care of themselves, you know, going to work, driving, blah blah blah. And then when they're in an unfamiliar territory, all they can think of is how can how can I, get back to my normal routine? So like when you're on vacation, your normal routine is, oh, okay, well, I don't have a house here, but I'll pay for a hotel. But like I remember when I was on the plane to Hawaii, I was thinking about some stuff back home. I was getting kind of depressed, but then I got off the plane and I was like, I gotta go meet this lady and find out this place I'm staying. And just, it took over, like, just this feeling like I can take care of myself. And it might not be the same way that I live back home, going to stay on some strange lady's farm that I've never met. But like that feeling that I just felt so capable that I could actually, survive. I think if people were able to hold on to that feeling, they could do a lot more.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I guess that's it. It's like people not... Well, it's a combination of things. Anchors. I always call them anchors. Careers, girlfriends, family. Shit that anchors people to a certain area. And some of it's real, and some of it's not, keeps people around. But also at the end of the day, I think it's all happiness, Like I always talk about travel as like a really good way to achieve happiness, but it's not the only way. It's just one of the ways. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, find something else. It's good. But I fucking love it. Just, traveling to the next place. On to the next thing.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I'm glad that you stopped here in Chicago. I'm glad that you choked down this frozen deep dish.
it wasn't bad. It just wasn't like a fucking legendary shit. I'm just making fun of the whole deep dish culture. But I do like it. When it's good. When it's good, it's good. You got anything else to say to the world?
Yeah, I guess don't be afraid to try new stuff, because it'll be awesome. I want to say thanks to my friend Mika for facilitating.
Fuck
our
yeah,
fun.
Mika. If you're listening to this still, we're in your place.
Yeah.
I'm sleeping in your bed. Cheers. I'm drinking beer that was chilled by your fridge. You're awesome. I hope to meet you one day.
Yeah.
Fucking A. Cheers. To the good times.
All right, thanks Robert for being on the show. That was awesome. I had a great time in Chicago, and great time hanging out with Robert. Just split today, so let me catch you up on just my travels pretty quickly from Council Bluffs all the way to Chicago, and where I am now, just barely outside of Chicago at the moment. Like I mentioned at the start of the show, patreon.com/kenflannery. You can become a member there, and one of the big things I do is, have like little micro podcasts. So every few days, getting on there and telling you about my travels, especially after big day hitchhiking. I like to do it when it's fresh in my head, and then you can hear everything all the time. And plus I, post extra pictures and videos and stuff on there. But let's get to it. So last episode I did with Liz Stewart, and I had hitched down to, I guess it was a Harrah's, some kind of casino in Council Bluffs where I was able to stay for free, edit some video, and from there I wanted to go to Minneapolis. I decided to see a friend, so walked out of there onto the road, and I think it was kind of a longish day, but I eventually got a ride from this really cool woman and her daughter that were going all the way to Minneapolis. So the walk paid off. Really cool conversation with her for hours getting up to Minneapolis, and then catching up with my friend Nick in Minneapolis was obviously awesome. I met Nick in Alaska when I was volunteering for couchsurfing.com, back in the golden the golden days of that. Yeah, so I've seen Nick in more states and countries than anyone in the world, and now I've seen him in Minneapolis with his wife and kids, so kicked it with him for several days, ate at a bunch of cool places, chicken wings and the like. Just hit one brewery while I was there. The name is slipping right now, but it was close to his place. It's pretty good. And yeah, from there I lined up a hopping episode with Toppling Goliath. If you don't know Toppling Goliath, they have 3 of the top 10 beers in the world, according to Beer Advocate's top 250 beer list, which is insane to have 3 of the top 10. And I was kind of amazed and stoked that they wanted to be on the hopping show. So I had looked up in between Minneapolis and Decorah, Iowa, where they were, and there's a town called Rochester, and just for kicks, I Googled breweries there just in case I got stuck there hitchhiking or something. And one came up called Forager Brewing. So the name sounded cool, and then I looked at their beer list and their story, and it looked really awesome. So I reached out to them, and they got back to me right away. They were down to do an episode, so I was stoked about that. So I hitchhiked on down there. Nick dropped me off outside of Minneapolis, and I think I got, just one ride from a guy who's going to Budapest, actually. He was going to catch a flight to Budapest. He dropped me off there in town, and Forager was awesome. The brewer had downloaded and read my book, A 6-Pack of Hitchhiking Stories, on Amazon the night before, which I thought was really cool. The fact that he just heard of me, decided to look that up and, I don't know, prepare to meet me. Really good conversation. I can't wait to get that episode up. Talked to him for a while, drank so many good beers. It was, unexpected surprise. I had never heard of them until I looked it up, and they're one of the, world-class breweries that we got in the world. He even gave me a few bottles and beers to go, and one of them was like $100 bottle, I guess. It's barrel-aged black barley wine kind of deal. It was delicious. So yeah, I filmed there, stayed there for a while because he was kicking me free beers and stuff, so hard to say no to that. Ended up walking to another brewery in town by dark, never got out of town, ended up camping close to some pond near a bike path kind of thing, just camped out. And woke up and started hitchhiking to Decorah, and it was a bit of a slow day, bunch of choppy rides, just a little bit at a time, but one of the last rides I got was a guy who just decided screw it, and he took me all the way to the brewery directly. So I was able to get there on time to do the hopping episode there. Met a woman there who sat down with me and, did the whole tasting thing that I always do, and Toppling Goliath is just awesome. Epic brewery. They're having a big event the next day. So unfortunately there's a bunch of beers they're going to release the next day, so I didn't get to drink like some of the super epic stuff, like big stouts and stuff, that I like. But still had a great time. And then literally walking away from the brewery, I wasn't sure where I was going to go, what I was going to do, but I stuck my thumb out anyways. And some people picked me up who'd seen me in the brewery. They're like, "You're the guy taking pictures." I'm like, kind of. And they were heading into town, so they took me to a brewery there called Pulpit Rock, and I hung out with a few of them. One guy, he bought my book, signed the book, drank some beers with them, or a beer with them. And then I was walking out of there, kind of deciding what to do, and I thought, screw it, there's another casino town down the way, Waterloo. Now I'm racking up all these hopping episodes, so I gotta find time to edit the video, so I'm like, all right, I can probably get 4 nights for free down there. So stuck my thumb out, and this couple picked me up. Well, they stopped, and they asked where I was going. I said Waterloo. They asked how far away it was. I said about an hour and a half driving. And they're like, "Oh shit!" And they're like, "Do you have any money?" And I was like, "No, that's why I'm hitchhiking." And they're like, "Do you have any alcohol?" And I'm like, "Yes, I do," because Forager had given me all this stuff, cans of seltzer and other stuff, and Toppling Goliath had given me a bottle. So I'm like, actually, I've got quite a bit. So I broke out the seltzer. I don't think they would have appreciated any of the big stouts and stuff that I had. They were drinking like malt liquor and stuff. They'd been car homeless, they said, for a couple weeks coming from North Carolina. And obviously they were just winging it. I got in the car and they were thinking of going to Minneapolis, and now they're going the opposite direction of Waterloo. Like, just made a quick decision. So they're really just winging it. Next to me in the back seat was a makeshift cooler. All it really was a cardboard box with a garbage bag on it, so it was like kind of splashing on me here and there whenever we made a turn. And they were just cackling and having a good time, and one of their friends, Kenny, had just died, so they were just like, you know, shocked that, or stoked, whatever, that Kenny was now in their car, and like, I don't know, it was another sign for them. Sounds like they're, you know, 2 weeks into the travel life, and it's a pretty blissful thing. I remember the first week and how amazing it felt, you know, and it just keeps getting better. Here we are, but they're right there in the thick of the magic of the beginning, so very cool. Yeah, they dropped me off in Waterloo. I found a brewery real quick to sit down, use the Wi-Fi, and see if I could indeed get the free room at the casino there, and thankfully it was available. So yeah, booked 4 nights there. Yeah, this is Waterloo. And walked on down there, and yeah, hung out and just edited a bunch of video there. Didn't really hit up the actual casino much. It was kind of a turd. So yeah, I think I just stayed there 4 nights. I might have did I extend that trip? Maybe I pushed it to 8 and just got a bunch done. Everything's blending together. This is why you should listen to the microcast on the Patreon when I actually got my shit together. But yeah, hung out there, nothing crazy eventful outside of the hotel room, just yeah, editing video and stuff. And then it was time to go. So where did I go? Where am I now? What is going on in the world? Eventually I got to Chicago, so I guess I went straight from Waterloo to Chicago. I think. Yeah, probably. I'm really having a fucking brain fart here. Where else would I have come from? Yeah, so I guess went straight from there. I'm trying to think of the days hitchhiking there. Let me cheat and look at a map here real quick. Sometimes stuff kind of blends together. Waterloo. Oh no, I'm totally forgetting about Quad Cities. Quad Cities. There we go. Waterloo. Okay, that's what happened. So I stayed in, I was in Waterloo for 4 days. The reason I went to another casino next, that's why I'm getting confused. So from Waterloo, I hitchhiked to the Quad Cities, which is like Davenport, still Iowa, Bettendorf. And that hitchhiking day was pretty not too bad. Got a ride to Cedar Falls or something. Oh, I got rained on like 4 times, but that's okay. Anyways, I got to Davenport and checked into a casino there where I was able to get 4 nights, and yeah, I was editing video, stuff like that. I lost a bit of money. No, I didn't, not yet. So I was about to leave the casino after 4 days, and then this adventurous brewery that I'd wanted to film at finally got in touch with me. They hadn't seen the message, and they're like, oh, sorry we missed you if you're ever back. And I'm like, I can stay. So somehow I was able to book another 4 nights at the casino, and then, yeah, I got in, filmed at Adventurous. Super cool. So they make a bunch of good like stouts and IPAs and, you know, the whole thing, but really cool, really friendly over there. So filmed there, and they told me about another spot in town, Endless Brews. So I'd gotten some beers there. Yeah, kind of got rocked by the casino a little bit, but I made it out of there alive. And at that point, finally, I was ready to hitchhike to Chicago to see Robert. That was rough. That was probably one of the rougher days hitchhiking this year, I think, as far as like being in a place with a lot of traffic and not getting any rides, because that's kind of what happened. I got some rides, but they were all short. getting out of Davenport. I found like a $1 bus, but it didn't go where it was supposed to go, so it didn't really get me out of the city. I still had to walk to get out of the city. I got a ride for 2 miles from a guy. Walked and walked and walked. Got another ride for like 10 miles. Walked and walked and walked. Got another ride for like 15 miles. Then a state trooper picked me up off the highway, told me I couldn't be there. He was pretty cool, but then he like held me up talking about like Jesus and death and repentance and stuff for, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes in a Walmart parking lot. Cool guy though, but yeah, I was just standing there in the sun listening to this story about his dad dying, like, oh my God, it's intense. I get to the Walmart to use Wi-Fi, I don't know, phone service to let Robert know I'm close, and then he said he might be able to pick me up, but then car issues. So walked and walked and walked. Finally got a ride from a woman just up to some town called Dixon. And then I waited there at an on-ramp until sunset and a little bit later and just didn't get a ride. So popped into, I just got a message from Melvin. Oh, you guys want to hear this live? Let's see. There's a Melvin near St. Louis, a Melvin Brewing, one of my favorite breweries. Let's see. Oh, yes, this is a yes. This is a yes. All right. I'm going to be filming at Melvin in Eureka, which is like St. Louis. Sweet. So I guess I'm going to St. Louis pretty soon. Oh, nice. All right. Where was I? Yeah, sunset, truck stop. Got a free Subway sandwich. Cute girl, little talking. Sometimes you get a free sandwich, you know. Camped next to the highway in a big patch of woods. Beautiful hidden spot to camp. Woke up around 6 a.m., heard some thunder, got up, started packing up. Rain started dumping down like a shower right as I got packed up. Luckily, it was only like a 5-minute walk to the truck stop, so kind of got soaked, but was able to go in there, waited out less than an hour. I'm on the on-ramp, waited on the on-ramp for over 2 hours, but 18-wheeler stopped, Mongolian guy. Didn't speak a lot of English, but we were going to Chicago, more or less. So went and dropped off a car. He was one of those car carriers, had like 10 cars on the back, whatever. And then, yeah, where he finally dropped me off, cutting through, was only a mile or two from where Robert had a place to stay. So I went and, yeah, eventually met up with Robert Struggles, who you just saw, listened to. And, yeah, spent a few days kicking around Chicago area with him. So I don't know how much we just mentioned, but yeah, went to several breweries, met a bunch of his friends around, met his brother, which was cool. Just had a great trip overall. And Microphone Brewing, man, I wish I had gotten in touch with them earlier. I would have loved to film there. This place, Microphone Brewing, just has so many like great barrel-aged stouts, good IPAs. It's world class. So I did get in touch with them just too late. So eventually I'll do an episode there. But if you're ever around Chicago, 100% go to Microphone. It's spelled like M-I-K-E-R phone, because the guy named Mike started it, Microphone. But it's super awesome. I went there twice, actually. So yeah, recorded that what you just saw with Robert just a night or two ago, and this morning he dropped me off. There's a $2 bus that went down to Joliet. I'm at a Harrah's again. Go fucking figure. I'm here to wait out. There's like several places I want to go to. Lansing, Michigan, Indianapolis are like 100% sure I'm going there. I'm just not sure what order. So I'm like, I might as well come here and kind of figure out. And now things are coming to fruition in real time. You just saw that Melvin around St. Louis. I'm going to go film a hopping episode with them. On Wednesday, I'm filming a hopping episode at Destal, which is in Normal, Bloomington, which is halfway to St. Louis. So it's all clicking right now. So I'll be here tonight, tomorrow, and then I'll, yeah, get down to Destal. And then, yeah, make my way to St. Louis is what we now know. Go film at Melvin, and then one way or another, I'm going to end up in Indianapolis and Lansing. We'll see what I put in between. So that's what's up. That's where we are. Hope you guys enjoyed listening to the stories with Robert. And fucking A, times are good. I will see you down the road.
Plans I made, I need a new escape. With with all my shit straight. I'll get my big brain.